Apple dumped. It was that time of year once again, the annual gathering of apples from all across Equestria. They came from all over and from all walks of life to Sweet Apple Acres to partake in the music, food, and fellowship. However, none of that really interested Spike. He would have rather stayed at home, but because Princess Twilight was specially invited by Applejack, he was obligated to accompany her. Being the only dragon at the event, he felt a bit out of place. He got a lot of looks from various ponies, old and young, but Applejack assured them that he was one of her closest friends. However, despite her reassurances to her extended family, Spike chose to be alone while he ate, sitting at a picnic table at the edge of the orchard. Twilight, on the other hoof, was busy chatting about with Applejack and meeting her kinfolk. It seemed as though she'd forgotten about him entirely. Spike was bored, he felt excluded, and didn't want to be there in the first place. He nearly considered hiking back to the Crystal Palace, figuring no pony would even miss him. However, before he could put his plan into motion, he caught a glimpse of a green-colored mare out of the corner of his eyes. She approached the table with a plate of apple treats balanced on her back. He thought for sure that she'd pass him by like every pony else, but this was not the case. Instead, she stopped beside him and subtly cleared her throat.
Is anyone else sitting here?
She had a heavy country accent, much like Applejack's. Spike was taken off guard by her question. Instinctively, he shook his head.
No one's sitting here but me.
A wide grin came across her face.
Wonderful. Do you mind if I join you?
Truthfully, Spike was still ready to leave, but the mare seemed so friendly. At least friendlier than any other pony that he'd encountered, so he couldn't bring himself to say no.
Sure. Why not?
The green mare looked over her back and grabbed the plate with her teeth, before placing it gently on the picnic table.
Thank you kindly.
She then sat down beside him and immediately began to snack on a fritter from her hoard.
I'm Apple Dumpling, by the way. I just moved here from Appaloosa.
Her smile was contagious, so much so that Spike couldn't help but smile back.
Yeah, I'm Spike.
Apple Dumpling laughed aloud and brushed her red mane out of her eyes.
Oh no, every pony here knows who you are.
He found that a bit hard to believe. They didn't act like they knew who he was.
Well, that's a funny way of showing it. Every pony keeps their distance and treats me like a stranger.
The mare's smile faded, and she shrugged her shoulders.
Well, just because they know who you are doesn't mean that they know you.
Then she set the apple treat back down and met his eyes with her own.
You don't have to be a stranger either. I'd like to get to know you.
Her cheeks turned as red as her mane, and her wave quickly shifted towards some tree in the orchard.
I mean, you just look lonely over here, and I was a bit lonely myself, so I thought you could use some company. If you didn't mind.
Spike shook his head.
No, not at all.
The longer that he sat with her, the more that he was beginning to warm up to her. Apple Dumpling took in a deep breath, and let it out slowly as her gaze met his again. Her legs kicked back and forth casually.
Your mare friend won't get cross with you, will she? You know, talking to other mares.
Spike raised an eyebrow at her. If he didn't know any better, and he was pretty sure that he didn't, he could have sworn that she was attempting to flirt with him. He'd never had a mare come on to him. It was always him doing the flirting, and always to Rarity. However, being turned off time and time again by the diva had left him discouraged from ever even trying again.
No, I mean, I don't have a mare friend.
He saw something change in her expression. There seemed to be a little sparkle in her eyes that wasn't there before. The apple straightened her posture and made a little adjustments to her mane.
Really? Why not, a handsome deaf like you? I'm a bit surprised.
Spike felt his cheeks turn hot. He wasn't used to ponies calling him handsome, except Twilight on special occasions.
I'm not really the outgoing type, plus I'm the only dragon in Ponyville, and this part of Equestria, really.
Apple Dumpling's mouth formed into a weak smile.
Well, I think that's a darn shame.
Then her gaze fell again.
I don't have a cult friend either, or friends of any kind since I'm new around here.
She let out a nervous chuckle, and fidgeted with her own mane, twirling locks of her cherry red hair around her hoof. Spike was almost certain that she was flirting with him now.
Are you saying that you want to be friends?
She shrugged off his question, continuing to play with her mane.
Yeah, I mean, if you want. Or we could have some lunch sometime. You could show me around Ponyville, and we could...
Her voice trailed off into silence. Then she looked a little more resolved, and she looked at him with a confident smile.
I'd love to be your friend, Spike. I've only been talking to you for a short time, but you've been nothing short of a gentle colt. You seem like a sweet guy, kind, and you really care about those closest to you. You'd make a lucky mare real happy, you know?
The dragon's eyes fell to the grass beneath his feet.
Yeah, if only she knew that.
Then he looked back at her.
There's a mare that I've always liked since I moved to Ponyville, but I don't think she sees me as anything more than a friend. Like I'm not even worth a chance.
Apple Dumpling frowned and placed a hoof on his claw.
You have a chance with me, if you'll take it.
Spike felt something stir in his chest.
What?
She scooted closer to him on the bench, keeping her hoof on him.
What I'm saying is, I want to go out on a date with you. I've been beating around the bush all this time, but you don't seem to be getting the idea.
The mare was almost right on top of him now, so close in fact that her eyes were all he could focus on.
So, do you want to do this, or don't you?
Spike felt pushed into a corner, figuratively and literally. He had never been in such a position, but he liked the feelings that it gave him. There was a sense of giddiness in his gut that he hadn't felt since the first day that he met Rarity all those years ago, and now he felt it with his sweet country mare. Before he could even think of a comprehensive answer to her demanding question, the words came spilling out of his mouth without his control.
Sure, Apple Dumpling, I'd like that.
The silly grin on her face stretched from ear to ear. Then she did something that he possibly couldn't have anticipated and leaned forward, pressing her lips into his. In the shade of the orchards and away from prying eyes, Spike reciprocated the act and he kissed her back. They exchanged lips for nearly a full minute before it came to an end, with Apple Dumpling planting a firm kiss on his cheek. When she pulled away, she was positively glowing.
I'm sorry, that was a bit far to me. I just felt so... well, I'm not sure what came over me.
Spike, having just experienced his first real kiss, was feeling numb, but fireworks exploded in his chest.
It's fine. I really liked it. I mean, it was just sudden, that's all.
The mare flicked her mane out of her eyes and smiled at him.
I can tell that we're gonna get along just fine. You can just call me Dumpling if you'd like.
Spike thought of all the times that he'd poured out his heart to Rarity, only for her to treat him like a kid or ignore him completely. Now he shared his first kiss with a mare who really seemed to like him, and he felt sure the same way about her. He couldn't help smiling with her as he touched the mark that she left on his cheek.
Sure, Dumpling.
Spike cleared his throat as he rose from the picnic table.
Do you want to go with me to get some drinks?
She chuckled and rolled her eyes as she stood up from the bench.
Do I? Ha!
Spike happily took a response as a yes, but then she leaned in close again and her lips brushed against his ear in a way that caused his green spines to tingle.
As long as you don't mind kissing in the orchard some more.
That was super sweet. I wonder how Rarity will react upon seeing Spike and Dumpling together, or worse, see them kissing each other. Anywho, let's get on to our very romantic donators. Top donators: Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Roland, Crazy Killer 557, Stu Hex, Will, Omicron Lyrae, Chris, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Hadge, Runescythe9852, Madman Stan, Leslie Perkett, Drake Lovedragon, Hansa Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGod12, Sorcerer Constantine, Hud Zaza, Conver, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.